2023, I will talk to up and rising celebrities and current celebrities about their current work and what made them who they are today. Thank you for joining me today as we begin our first series with Douglas Vermeeren. Douglas Vermeeren is an actor, stunt performer, producer, and director. He has written over 50 books, produced 5 award-winning films, and built multiple 8-figure companies. Douglas training programs share strategies of how to connect with the highest level achievers and expand your network to grow your business. He is a world-renowned speaker and trainer, featured at some of the globe's largest events, such as Grant Cardone's 10 Times Con, which I myself am a user of the method. This will be the first episode of a 6-part series available only on YouTube and Globe Preemies TV. Thank you for being here with me, Doug. I wanted to start with a question about how did you get started in film and TV?
Wow, I got started quite a long time ago. I was 7 at the time, or somewhere thereabouts. There's actually 2 events that I guess we could talk about. One, I was on a kids show that was I was 5 actually. I was on a kids show in our community called Buckshot on CTV, and I made a couple of appearances on there, and that was really quite fun. Funny enough, I years later got to work with that same host of that show, of the kids show. The second was I was actually doing a program for CBC. I'm from Canada, and I played a newspaper boy in an after-school special. And so I guess from that stage, I kind of got hooked into film. Obviously, when I was a kid, a lot of really cool blockbusters came out, everything from E.T. to Back to the Future to Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars, and all these films kind of came into my life at an early age. So quite frankly, I've always been fascinated by film, and it's been exciting to be part of that journey so far.
What projects are you currently working on?
Well, it's interesting. Ever since we've kind of started to recover from the COVID pandemic, there's been a lot of projects that have been on my table. I assume that it's really because a lot of the producers that were doing shows before the pandemic are now trying to catch up and get a lot of things going. So I've literally had about 7 or 8 different features this year. I had a really cool show that I worked with Tom Sizemore on, that I played a detective who arrested him. I had a chance to do couple of other scary movies here that we've done. I've played a cop in a few other shows. In fact, I just finished another show yesterday. I was playing a villain in a science fiction show called The Awakening, and my character Alexander is trying to take over the world in a very apocalyptic sort of Mad Max kind of world. And so it was interesting because I haven't really played a lot of bad guys before, so it was really fun to do that. And that was a film by Aaron Glanfield, and that'll be coming out, I believe, over the summer. So it's just, there's so much that's now happening because we're coming back from this pandemic. It's actually a very exciting time. As you can imagine, also, there's a lot of opportunities now that people are getting much more accustomed to watching shows on the streaming services. So that means that the budgets are more accessible, and there's many more filmmakers that are finding their way right now. And it's just an exciting time, and I'm so excited to be part of it.
I look forward to watching everything you have coming out. What has been your favorite project lately?
Wow, that's a great question. There's been a lot. This one that we just finished yesterday was really fun. As I mentioned, I've never really played a villain before, so that was kind of a new thing for me. But I've done a few over the summer that were really quite fun. I did a really cool show that I enjoyed called Necropolis 1935, where it was, again, a futuristic kind of science fiction thing, and they took us to this little sort of ghost town area, and I got to film there, and it was just kind of an eerie feeling with all these abandoned buildings and vehicles and things, and that was kind of neat. I also had a chance to do a show in Las Vegas that was really exciting. I do a lot of my own stunts, so this was interesting to do that. And we got to do a lot of gun work and explosions and fire and all these kind of things and motorcycle stunts. And so, wow, there's been so many lately that have just been really, really fun. And I think that now that the pandemic is kind of over and stuff, I was doing a lot of producing and directing before. So it's exciting for me to now get more in front of the camera or return back in front of the camera, which I had a little bit of a break before since I had done that. I'm just thinking that everything's coming right now is so exciting, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. A lot of producers and directors are giving me a lot of good opportunities that I've never had before. And so it's, I don't know, it's a unique and fun time in my career right now.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. What has been the most challenge working in film and TV?
Wow. I always kind of joke about this because I hate cold weather. Anytime I'm outside in the snow, it's a hard time. And I've had a few things that I've done. One specific I'm thinking of, it was a period piece where I had to wear these paper thin shoes, and the jackets and everything else were built for the period, so it wasn't super warm. So anyone who was on that show continues to this day to complain that that's one of the hardest jobs that they've had. And I agree. But I think another maybe consideration is a lot of times when people do ask me what's the hardest part of acting in a film and making a movie, most times people think it's memorizing the lines, and sometimes there can be a lot of dialogue to memorize. But I don't think that that's really the truth. I think the hardest part is sometimes finding the character in those lines and taking the time to explore and find out who these people really are. You're not just regurgitating lines, but you're actually becoming someone. And sometimes, as you know, when I'm going through the scripts on my own at home, the characters that I come up with and my interpretations of things, they're mine. But when I get on the set, they have to mesh with the interpretations that maybe some of the other actors have found on their own characters, and then sometimes even getting the advice of the director. Sometimes we find that there's a different direction that they wanted to go, and so you got to really be able to spontaneously pivot based on what is happening around you with these other actors and also the director. So I think sometimes that can be really difficult, and sometimes sometimes you nail it just exactly how you intended, and other times you've got to reinvent it right there with a very short window to do so. So sometimes that can be difficult.
Okay, I can understand that too. What does the future look like for you?
Well, I'm excited about the future. In fact, sometimes when people say, what's your favorite film that you've ever done? My answer is the next one. So I'm always optimistic that there's more exciting and more grand or more, how should we say, artistically challenging things ahead of me. I know that I've got one this year that I'm really super excited about. There's a TV series that we're working on called Operation Majestic, and I play a small town law enforcement agent. I believe he's the sheriff, and what happens is he actually gets a suspect into custody who claims that there's a voice from the lights in the sky that's telling him to commit various crimes, including some homicides. And as you can imagine, it gets into the alien conspiracy, the ideas around alien abduction, and the idea of government agencies and secret groups covering up some of these alien visitations and these ideas. And it's got a very X-Files-ish kind of feel about it, but in a very modern, contemporary setting. And I just find that world of sort of that cloak and dagger conspiracy stuff to be very, very exciting and intriguing to me, and it's super well written. So I think it's going to be a really interesting show, and I'm really excited about that. And that'll actually be shooting over the summer here. So I'm just super excited to be part of that project.